Welcome back, hunters. This is part 2 of our solo leveling What If series, where Jinwoo is chosen by the rulers and becomes the Lightborn monarch. Previously, the sky split open, the rulers descended, and Antares appeared to challenge Jinwoo himself. Now, the real war begins. Let's continue the story. The sky itself trembled under the weight of two opposing forces, radiant divinity from the rulers, and overwhelming destruction from Antares and his dragon legion. Humans across the city fell to their knees, unable to comprehend what they were seeing. Some thought the world was ending. Some believed gods had descended. But Jinwoo understood one thing clearly. This was no longer a hidden war. The monarchs and rulers had brought their battlefield directly into human territory. And he, an E-rank boy who once struggled to survive daily raids, now stood at the center of it all. The air crackled with energy as Jinwoo faced Antares. The sheer pressure radiating from the monarch of destruction felt like standing in front of an erupting volcano. Heat shimmered off his armor, scorching the very clouds. Dragons circled the sky behind him like flaming serpents. Antares lowered his colossal head, molten eyes studying Jinwoo with dangerous curiosity. So, the rulers truly chose a human, he growled. His voice felt like thunder tearing the world apart. Jinwoo tightened his grip around the radiant blade forming in his hand. Light spread across his arm like flowing molten gold. I didn't choose this fight, Jinwoo said, voice steady. But I'll finish it. Antares laughed, a sound that shook buildings and shattered glass across entire districts. Bold words from a creature whose lifespan flickers like a candle. Jinwoo didn't respond. He couldn't afford fear. He couldn't afford doubt. The covenant system pulsed inside him, reacting to the overwhelming presence of the monarch of destruction. Notifications flooded his vision. Luminance surge detected. Host vitals destabilizing. Warning. Contact with demonstrated mana may induce soul burn. He pushed aside the warnings. He couldn't let hesitation break him. Not now. Not when the entire world was watching, and depending on him. The rulers descended beside him, their wings expanding across the sky in a formation designed to counter Antares' might. The leading ruler raised his spear of light. Antares, your presence violates the celestial accord. Antares snorted flames. The accord is dead. Your dominion is dead. All that remains is destruction. The dragons roared in unison, shaking the earth. The rulers braced themselves. And Jinwoo, standing between them, felt the light inside him react violently. His aura flared upward, creating a golden storm around him. The ground beneath his feet cracked. The sky distorted. The air vibrated. He felt the covenant blazing through his body, demanding release. It wasn't a weapon. It was a sun caged within him. A sun that wanted to obliterate everything in its path. Antares tilted his massive head. Interesting. The light within you burns brighter than I expected. Jinwoo glared up at him. I'm not your enemy because I'm chosen by the rulers. I'm your enemy because you threaten the people I care about. Antares' wings extended to full span, blotting out the skyline. Then show me, Lightborn. Show me whether your resolve can surpass annihilation. And with a single beat of his wings, Antares launched himself downward. The shockwave ripped through the clouds. Dragons followed him like a meteor swarm. Jinwoo reacted instantly. He raised his hand, summoning a dome of blinding radiance around the city block. The golden barrier erupted outward, shielding civilians and buildings alike. Antares crashed into the barrier with enough force to crack the sky itself. The impact sent shockwaves across the city, toppling billboards, shattering windows, blowing cars off the streets. Jinwoo staggered, blood dripping from his lips, but he held the barrier firm. Antares smirked behind the cracks forming in the light. Impressive. But you cannot hold it forever. Jinwoo grit his teeth. I don't need forever. Just long enough. The rulers struck next. 6 of them unleashed beams of divine energy, crashing into Antares from multiple angles. Golden explosions filled the sky. Dragons screamed as they were vaporized. Antares took the hit directly, roaring in fury, but not in pain. He beat his wings, sending a pulse of destructive mana that disrupted the rulers' formation. Several were pushed back miles into the sky, crashing through clouds like falling stars. Jinwoo rushed forward while Antares was momentarily distracted. He used Lightstep, streaking through the air in a flash of golden light. Antares spotted him instantly. "Little spark," he growled. "You dare." Jinwoo activated Blade of Radiance and swung with all the strength he had. The light carved a trail across the sky as it struck Antares' armor. A blast of golden fire erupted. The impact sent both of them flying in opposite directions. Jinwoo slammed into a skyscraper, cracking the concrete. Antares skidded across the air, smoke curling from the dent left on his armor. He touched the damaged spot, surprised. "You marked me," Antares growled. "No mortal has marked me in centuries." Jinwoo forced himself to stand, wiping the blood from his jaw. "I'm not a normal mortal." The light inside him surged like a storm. The Covenant system unfolded new panels in his vision. New skill evolved, Luminous Ascent. Host has temporarily unlocked Radiant Overdrive. A rush of golden energy exploded from Jinwoo's back, forming radiant wings. Not real wings, but constructs of pure light shaped by his will. His body lifted off the ground. He hovered midair, glowing like a second sun against the night sky. People across Seoul stared upward, witnessing a sight they would never forget. Is he an angel? No, he's a hunter. No, he's something more. Jinwoo burst forward, wings trailing golden flame. Antares met him halfway, swinging a claw larger than a house. Jinwoo dodged at the last second and slashed upward. Light carved across Antares' scales. Antares retaliated with a blast of destructive flame that melted through the atmosphere. Jinwoo raised a radiant shield. The flames consumed it, but the shield held long enough for him to escape. The sky became a battlefield of gold and crimson. Every clash sent shockwaves across the city. Every explosion lit the world like a supernova. The rulers supported from above, sending volleys of divine force toward the Dragon Legion. Dragons fell like meteor showers. But for every dragon that fell, Antares roared louder, drawing more power from his army. "Jinwoo," a ruler shouted telepathically. "You must not engage him alone." Jinwoo clenched his jaw. "I know." But he also knew something else. The longer he fought Antares, the more unstable the light inside him became. Warnings kept flashing. Warning. Luminance instability 75%. Warning. Soul burn risk extreme. He ignored them. He couldn't back down. If he did, the entire city would fall. Antares swung his tail, smashing Jinwoo across the sky. Jinwoo crashed through 2 buildings before regaining balance. He coughed, tasting blood. If he were still human, he would have died from that single hit. But he wasn't completely human anymore. And the Covenant refused to let him fall. The radiant wings pulsed, healing him enough to keep going. He rose again. Antares watched with unsettling delight. "Yes, rise again. Rise higher. Show me how bright your flame can burn. Before I extinguish it." The taunt ignited something in Jinwoo. Not anger. Determination. He streaked forward, forming multiple blades of light from thin air. He hurled them like spears. Each one burst against Antares' armor, lighting up the sky. Antares retaliated with destructive pulses, shattering the constructs midair. They clashed hundreds of times in mere seconds, their battle carving rifts through clouds, shaking stars, distorting the very air. At last, Antares grew impatient. He unleashed his full aura. An overwhelming wave of destructive energy that turned the entire skyline crimson. Jinwoo's body shook violently as the pressure hit him. He barely stayed airborne. The system screamed warnings. Host at critical limit. Force activation required. New form available. Radiant manifestation. Jinwoo exhaled. Fine. Do it. The light inside him detonated. Golden fire erupted from every pore of his body. His wings expanded into a massive halo. His aura burned brighter than the rulers themselves. The city lit up as if a second sun had risen. Antares' eyes widened for the first time. You don't have the body to sustain that power." Jinwoo flinched at the pain, forcing the words out. "Then I'll hold it. Until you fall." Their next clash was unlike anything Seoul had ever seen. Antares struck with enough power to crack the earth. Jinwoo countered with light fierce enough to blind the sky. Their blows created shockwaves that flattened buildings and carved trenches through entire neighborhoods. But Jinwoo didn't stop. He couldn't stop. He was burning alive from the inside. But he kept fighting anyway. Because for the first time, he had a power that could protect. A power that could save. A power he would give everything to wield. But something changed. Jinwoo felt a sudden surge of instability. A violent shift inside the Covenant system. The radiant wings flickered. The golden light warped. Pain erupted through his skull. He felt his humanity slipping, piece by piece. The system flashed red. Fatal warning. Loss of self imminent. Jinwoo gasped. No, not now. The light began consuming him. Antares sensed the weakness and lunged. His claw crashed into Jinwoo, sending him spiraling down toward the ground. Jinwoo hit the earth hard, carving a crater into the concrete. His vision blurred. He could barely breathe. The light inside him raged, uncontrollable. He was moments away from losing himself completely. And Antares descended slowly, savoring the moment. You shine brightly, Lightborn. But in the end, you burn just like everything else. He raised his claw. And then, the shadows moved. For a heartbeat, the world held its breath. Jinwoo lay at the center of a smoking crater, barely conscious. Antares hovered above him, wings blazing, eyes burning with the hunger of destruction. The Monarch of Destruction lifted his claw, ready to crush the Lightborn once and for all. The rulers were too far, still entangled in battle with the Dragon Legion. No human could intervene. No radiant familiar could survive long enough. Jinwoo's body refused to move. His light flickered. He could feel his soul beginning to unravel. It should have been the moment he died. It should have been the end of the ruler's chosen vessel. But instead, the shadows rose. A ripple of darkness slid across the battlefield, swallowing debris, flames, and even the light falling from the sky. In the center of the crater, a black silhouette emerged, tall, armored, regal, and terrifying. Not a monarch of light. Not a ruler. Not a dragon. A different king entirely. The king of shadows. Jinwoo blinked weakly. His vision was fading, but he knew that presence instantly. Ashborn. The name escaped his lips like a prayer and a fear combined. Ashborn did not look at him at first. The shadow monarch glared up at Antares with eyes that burned like dying stars. Antares froze mid-strike. You. His voice trembled with a mixture of hatred and caution. You dare interfere. Ashborn raised one hand casually. The shadows around him surged upward, forming a dome of living darkness that clashed directly with the destructive aura of the Monarch of Destruction. Antares hissed. You abandoned the war. You refused the throne. You refused your duty to us all. Why now? Why protect the vessel of the rulers? Ashborn's voice was quiet, cold, final. I am not here for the rulers. I am here for him. His eyes flickered downward toward Jinwoo. Jinwoo could barely speak. His throat felt dry, his chest heavy. You warned me. The light would burn me. Ashborn finally turned toward him. His towering figure knelt, lowering himself to Jinwoo's level. The shadows dimmed their rage around him, as if bowing. Yes, Ashborn said. And I was right. Your body is tearing itself apart. Your mind is fraying. Your soul is cracking. Jinwoo coughed, struggling to breathe. Then, why help me? Ashborn lifted him gently, surprisingly gently for a being of pure darkness, and stood tall again. Because you do not give up. Because you rise even when you should fall. Because they chose you to die. And I refuse to let that be your fate. The words carried a weight heavier than any weapon. Ashborn wasn't just intervening. He was declaring allegiance, not to the rulers, but to Jinwoo himself. Antares roared, wings flaring. Betrayer of the monarchs, you think you can protect him. You think your shadows can shield a body that is already breaking. Ashborn's tone remained calm. Yes. Antares lunged. The impact of his charge split the earth open like a wound. Shadows surged from Ashborn's body, taking the form of colossal beasts and armored knights. They clashed with Antares's destructive aura, creating a storm of darkness and flame that tore across the battlefield. Jinwoo watched weakly as two ancient monarchs, once allies and rivals, collided with a fury that defied imagination. Ashborn's shadows struck like an ocean of claws. Antares' flames burned like the heart of a dying star. The sky warped under the pressure. Winds roared. Buildings crumbled. But even as they fought, Jinwoo could sense the truth. Ashborn was not at full power. He was still incomplete, weakened by centuries of conflict and betrayal. He could delay Antares. But he could not defeat him. Not like this. Not alone. The rulers finally descended again, bolstered by reinforcements. Golden energy rained down upon the battlefield as they joined the clash against the Dragon Legion. Cities across Korea watched the spectacle in horror and awe. Monarchs, rulers, shadows, and dragons, the cosmic war had finally reached Earth. In the middle of it, Jinwoo felt small. Weak. Fragile. But inside his chest, buried beneath the pain and burning light, something refused to break. He clenched his trembling fist. He couldn't lie there. He couldn't let others fight for him. He was Lightborn. He was chosen. And more importantly, he wanted to protect the people he loved. No matter what. Jinwoo pushed himself to sit up. His vision blurred. His head pounded. The Covenant system flickered erratically in his mind. Panels opened and closed, warnings overlapping. Warning. Luminance instability 92%. Warning. Radiant overdrive unstable. Warning. Self-erasure risk extreme. He ignored all of them. He focused on one question. How do I stabilize? How do I stop my soul from breaking? The system answered. Not with words, but with a new panel slowly unfolding. Solution available. Convergence. Jinwoo's heart skipped. What is convergence? The system responded with cold precision. Convergence is a forbidden function. Activation will merge host with radiant energy source. Result. Host will no longer be human. Jinwoo's breathing faltered. Not human. What would he become? A ruler. A being of pure light. Something worse. He didn't know. But he did know one thing. The world wouldn't survive if he stayed weak. He forced himself to stand. Pain surged through him like lightning. His bones felt as if they were cracking. But he stood. Ashborn noticed him immediately. Jinwoo, what are you doing? Jinwoo clenched his jaw. Fighting. Jinwoo's aura ignited again, unstable but burning fiercely. Ashborn's eyes widened slightly, not in fear, but in something almost like pride. You are a fool, Ashborn said. But perhaps, the right kind of fool. Antares snarled, annoyed by Jinwoo's recovery. You still rise. Even now. Jinwoo stepped forward, light exploding from his body in a massive wave. Yes, he said. Because I refuse to die here. Jinwoo activated convergence. The effect was immediate and violent. His entire body became engulfed in a blinding halo of gold. The air around him vibrated. Space distorted. The ground cracked beneath his feet. His radiant wings expanded into massive arcs of burning light. The Covenant system surged, absorbing all remaining luminance into a single, terrifying form. Jinwoo screamed as the transformation surged through him. But he didn't collapse. He endured. Light consumed his flesh, then rebuilt it. His aura grew so intense that even the rulers shielded themselves. Ashborn stepped back, shadows trembling like leaves in a storm. And Antares paused. Truly paused. For the first time in thousands of years. Impressive, he muttered. You finally begin to resemble a monarch. Jinwoo opened his eyes. They glowed brighter than the sun. He rose into the air, no longer being held by wings. The light itself held him. Held his form. Held his existence. He had become something new. Something impossible. A radiant entity. With a single motion, Jinwoo vanished. Moving faster than thought. He reappeared directly in front of Antares, striking with a radiant fist that detonated in a blast of gold. Antares roared as the impact staggered him. Jinwoo followed with another blow, then another, his strikes turning the sky into a storm of golden meteors. His speed surpassed even Ashborn's shadows. His power shook the air. But every attack burned him from within. Every moment in convergence chipped away at his remaining humanity. Still, he fought. Ashborn joined him, shadows merging with Jinwoo's light in a chaotic symphony of power. The rulers descended, forming a formation around the two. And together, light, shadow, and divine force, they clashed with Antares in a cataclysmic explosion that shook the entire nation. Dragons fell from the sky like dying stars. Buildings crumbled. The ground cracked in a spider web pattern stretching miles. Heat tremors rippled across the sea. The battle lasted minutes, but felt like hours. At last, Jinwoo saw the opening he had been waiting for. Antares roared, staggering back, cracks appearing along his molten scales. Jinwoo's light flared in response. He summoned every last thread of radiant power inside him. Even if it cost him his soul. Even if this was his final act. He thrust his hands forward. A supernova of light erupted, engulfing Antares completely. The blast swallowed the sky. The shockwave flattened mountains. And when the light finally faded, Antares was falling. His massive form collapsed into the ocean below with the force of a meteor strike, sending a tsunami crashing outward. Jinwoo's wings flickered. His vision dimmed. His heart weakened. But he was still standing. Barely. The rulers rushed to him. Lightborn, you did it. But Jinwoo didn't feel relief. He felt only pain. Convergence was eating him alive. His body flickered in and out of physical form. He looked down at his hands. They were dissolving into light, pixel by pixel. I can't stay like this. Ashborn stepped forward, shadows swirling around him like a storm. There is a way, he said. But it will cost everything. Jinwoo met his gaze. What do I have to do? Ashborn extended a hand. Give the light to me. Jinwoo's eyes widened. If you take the covenant, won't that kill you? Ashborn nodded calmly. Perhaps. But you will live. Jinwoo clenched his teeth. He didn't want to sacrifice him. He didn't want to watch another monarch die because of him. But his body, his soul, was disappearing. He had seconds left. Please, Jinwoo whispered. Save them, save the world, save my sister, my mother, everyone. Ashborn placed a hand on Jinwoo's chest. And pulled. The light screamed. The shadows roared. The convergence shattered. For a moment, all existence flickered. Then everything went white. Jinwoo collapsed. But the glow faded from his body. The burning inside him disappeared. The covenant was gone. He was human again. And the one who now carried the light was Ashborn. For a few silent seconds, the world existed only in white. No sound. No sky. No earth. Only the blinding brilliance of Jinwoo's released divinity collapsing into Ashborn's grasp. Then the white faded, and reality returned like a rush of cold air. Jinwoo fell to the ground, gasping, trembling, feeling the weight of a human body again. He felt small, weak, fragile, but alive. The burning in his chest was gone. The shimmering panels of the covenant system had disappeared entirely. The radiant wings no longer held him aloft. He was human, painfully, undeniably human. He lay on the shattered ground, coughing, blinking through blurred vision. Above him, the battlefield was unrecognizable. Skyscrapers were broken skeletons. The horizon burned with the aftermath of divine and destructive mana. Dragons lay scattered across the ruined landscape. Rulers hovered in the sky, their armor dimmed, their wings cracked. The world had been changed. Scarred. Because of this war. And then Jinwoo's gaze lifted. Toward the one standing at the center of everything. Ashborn. But not the Ashborn Jinwoo knew. This was a being overflowing with radiant power and shadow at the same time. He stood tall, wreathed in swirling darkness and blinding golden fire. The convergence of Jinwoo's light mingled with the ancient, infinite shadows within him. He was both contradiction and harmony. Light and dark. Judgment and death. Radiance and nothingness. Two monarch-level powers fusing through a single soul. Jinwoo saw him and felt the weight of a god staring back. Ashborn took one slow breath. And the world trembled. The ground cracked around him. The sky flickered as if confused about whether it should become day or night. The rulers themselves stepped back in disbelief. Ashborn, one whispered. What have you become? Ashborn didn't answer. Not yet. He simply lifted his gaze toward the ocean. Where Antares had fallen. The waves began to boil. Steam rose as something massive moved beneath the water. Dragons screeched from the depths. An immense shadow formed under the surface. And with a violent explosion of molten water and crimson fire, Antares rose again. His wings burned with destructive fury. His scales cracked with glowing magma. He was wounded, deeply, but not defeated. He hovered above the ocean, dripping molten gore into the waves. His massive chest heaved, each breath a storm of fire. His voice shook continents. So, the Shadow Monarch steals the light. Ashborn floated into the air, shadow and radiance spiraling around him like twin storms. I did not steal it, he said calmly. He gave it to me. Antares bared his fangs. And now you think you can defeat me? You, the traitor of the monarchs. The broken king of shadows. Ashborn extended his hand. The world dimmed. His voice boomed across the battlefield. No, I am no longer a king of shadows alone. He opened his wings. Wings made of shifting darkness and flowing golden fire. A sight unseen in any timeline. Ashborn had become something new. Something impossible. A monarch forged from shadow. Empowered by the radiance of a human soul. A being beyond the ancient balance of light and dark. His voice thundered. I am the radiant shadow. Antares roared, the ocean boiling beneath him. Then come, radiant shadow. Let me end you, as I should have millennia ago. Their auras exploded. One of destruction, one of duality. Clashing so violently the horizon split between crimson and gold. The final battle began, not between Jinwoo and Antares, but between two true monarchs. The sky became a battlefield of gods. Dragons fought against shadow constructs and radiant familiars. Rulers engaged the remaining legion, lending their strength to contain the catastrophe. But at the center, only two beings mattered. Ashborn charged first, faster than light, faster than shadow. He moved with two energies at once. His shadows bending reality, and Jinwoo's radiance tearing through destruction. Antares swung his colossal claw, generating a shockwave that split the sea in half. Ashborn vanished before impact, reappearing behind him, slamming a fist of combined energies into the monarch's spine. Antares roared in agony, flames exploding from his wounds. He turned, unleashing a destructive breath that vaporized miles of ocean. Ashborn countered by summoning a dome of shadows layered with a barrier of radiant light. A shield so powerful it held back annihilation itself. The impact forced both monarchs backward, but neither fell. The world watched in helpless awe. People across continents witnessed the clash through news cameras and satellites. Commentators screamed. Children cried. Hunters froze in terror. What they saw was beyond human comprehension. A battle that shook the crust of the earth. A war between forces older than time. A confrontation so violent it felt like the planet itself would split in two. And Jinwoo watched it with trembling fists. He wanted to help. He wanted to fight. But he couldn't even stand without stumbling. The Covenant had burned away too much of him. He could do nothing but watch. As the two most powerful beings in existence fought for the fate of the world he loved. Ashborn began gaining ground. His radiant shadow aura enveloped the sky, pushing Antares back with each strike. Shadow spears rained from above, infused with Jinwoo's luminance. Each spear burned through destruction like a hot blade through paper. Antares roared, conjuring a sphere of pure annihilation. A mass of destructive mana that pulsed like a mini-star of death. He hurled it toward Ashborn. The rulers screamed warnings. Ashborn, dodge it. But Ashborn didn't move. He caught the sphere with one hand. The world went silent. Cracks of darkness and light spread across his arm. Then he crushed the sphere. Antares stared in horror. You absorbed my destruction. Ashborn's voice echoed like a funeral bell. And I will return it to you. He crossed the sky in an instant. Shadow and light wrapped around his fist. A power beyond monarch logic. Beyond cosmic rules. Beyond the old war. Ashborn struck Antares directly in the heart. The impact shattered the sky with a blinding explosion. A shockwave rippled across the world. Dragons disintegrated. Clouds split apart. The ocean erupted upward in a wall of steam. The glow faded. And Antares plummeted toward the sea. The monarch of destruction tried to rise. But this time, he could not. His wings broke. His scales cracked. His fire dimmed. Ashborn floated above him, towering like a god. Antares looked up in a mixture of hatred and respect. Shadow. Light. You are a contradiction. That should not exist. Ashborn lowered his hand. You are correct. Antares coughed molten blood. Then, how? How can you hold the light, without burning? Ashborn glanced toward Jinwoo, the human who had given him the power. Because it was never mine to hold alone. Then he reached down and pressed his palm against Antares's forehead. The radiant shadow unleashed the combined force of death, light, judgment, and memory. Antares screamed as his existence unraveled. Golden cracks spread across his body. Shadow spread within the cracks. His destructive mana was overpowered. Destroyed. Purified. Nullified. The monarch of destruction, warrior of endless wars, trembled. And finally, he shattered. His form burst into radiant particles that scattered across the sky like dying embers. The sea calmed. The sky cleared. Silence fell upon the earth. Antares was gone. Forever. Ashborn descended slowly, his massive aura retracting. His wings folded behind him. The battlefield quieted. Even the rulers stared in awe and fear. For Ashborn had just accomplished the impossible. He had slain Antares. Alone. Without an army. Without the rulers. Without a vessel. The balance of the universe had been rewritten. And now, a new problem remained. Ashborn himself. The ruler commander stepped cautiously toward him. Ashborn, you have become something beyond control. Beyond balance. Beyond reason. What are your intentions? Ashborn did not answer immediately. Jinwoo forced himself to stand, heart pounding in fear for his unlikely ally. Ashborn, Jinwoo whispered. The radiant shadow turned. His aura flickered. He was struggling. The fusion of light and shadow was tearing at his essence. He was strong, but unstable. He staggered slightly. Not from Antares's power, but from his own. Jinwoo ran to him, grabbing his arm. Ashborn, what's happening? Ashborn looked down at him. His voice was softer now. My vessel, my body, cannot maintain this balance. Jinwoo froze. What do you mean? Ashborn's wings flickered violently. Cracks of light and shadow appeared across his form. I can hold both energies. But not forever. Not without you. Jinwoo's eyes widened. Me. Ashborn nodded. You gave me your light. Your soul stabilized the radiance. Only you can stabilize me again. The rulers raised their weapons. Jinwoo. Step away from him. He is dangerous. Ashborn didn't even look at them. They fear me. They have always feared me. But I am not their enemy. Not anymore. Jinwoo swallowed. What do you need? Ashborn slowly extended his hand. Not in command. Not in dominance. But in trust. In every timeline. In every possibility. You were meant to become something great. Shadow or light. You were always destined for more. Now, you can choose which destiny you want. Jinwoo looked at the hand. At the monarch who had saved him. At the being who had fought for him. Who had carried his light. Who had risked his existence to give Jinwoo a chance at life. He made his choice. He placed his hand in Ashborn's. A blinding explosion erupted between them. Not destructive. Not painful. But harmonious. The energies merged. Balanced. Jinwoo felt the radiant warmth returning. But not consuming him. The shadow embraced him. But did not drown him. The two forces intertwined, weaving into his soul. Ashborn's massive form dissolved into pure essence. Entering Jinwoo's chest. The world flashed white, black, and gold. When the light faded, a single figure stood in the center of the battlefield. Sung Jinwoo. But not the Jinwoo from before. Not Lightborn. Not Shadow Heir. He was something entirely new. His eyes glowed with twin rings. One golden, one violet. His aura flowed in two colors. Radiant fire and swirling darkness. He was human in shape. But far beyond human in power. The rulers and dragons alike stared in stunned silence. Jinwoo took one breath, feeling the new power settle within him. It didn't burn. It didn't consume. It simply existed. Balanced. Alive. He opened his hand. And a radiant shadow blade formed instantly, humming with unified energy. He spoke softly. I am the monarch of light and shadow. The rulers knelt. Not out of fear, out of acknowledgement, out of respect. For the first time in all histories, a being existed who could unite both sides. A being not bound by old laws. A being born from sacrifice, will, light, and darkness. The war was over. Antares was gone. The Dragon Legion dissolved. The cosmic balance reset. And Jinwoo, Sung Jinwoo, stood at the center of a new beginning. He looked toward the sky, where the golden and crimson scars slowly began to heal. He whispered to himself, I survived, not because I was chosen, but because I chose to keep going. And then, as the world slowly recovered from the greatest battle in its history, the new monarch turned away, ready to walk his own path. Not as a weapon, not as a pawn, not as a vessel, but as the first radiant shadow. Protector of humanity, guardian of worlds, Sung Jinwoo, reborn. Thank you for watching part 2 of this solo leveling what if story. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with other solo leveling fans. In part 3, we explore what happens after the fall of Antares. And after Jinwoo becomes something the world has never seen. The final chapter of this alternate universe is coming soon. Stay tuned.